Okay. Rocky the Knockout Collection on 4K. Just thought I'd explain my thoughts about this movie, or the set of movies and the collection itself. I put a review out on Reddit. It's my image for it. I went into quite a lot of detail actually. So I just posted it out on Reddit and this other social networks. I just did a quick abbreviation of it. Okay, so the video. Well, actually, let's go to the scores, just to give you a quick idea. So, picture quality for the first three, I thought, essentially is excellent. The reason for me not giving it, say, a 5 out of 5 is because there are some low-res shots. There's some pretty heavy ringing in quite a few of them. And it's really just simple things like that. Now, you could say, well, that's not a fault of or a flaw of the transfer itself, and I would agree with you there. It isn't. It's not. It's not a flaw from anyone transferring this whatsoever. But you have to review an image in a holistic way. I do put more emphasis on the transfer quality itself. This is why I guess really this is a relatively high review. This is 4.75. For me, it's basically perfect. I think for what we have and the things that I look for. For the first three, the audio on average, I gave as a 4 out of 5. I'll explain the audio maybe at the end. I'll go into a bit more detail about that. Rocky 2 does sound different to all of the previously releases, and I'll explain what I think that they did, and is it a problem. So I split the reviews up into two, really. The reason I did that is because Rocky vs. Drago, the director's cut, for me, has a different grain structure than the first three movies. For me, on an OLED, the difference is obvious. And the way the grain moves as well is, in my opinion, it's been kind of altered. It doesn't look like true film, whereas the first three do. The first three movies, they do. They look rough, very rough, actually. So I just prefer. I personally prefer this look. I like the retention of grain, is what I'm after. Any digital influence whatsoever, where they're tightening grain or making grain more consistent, but it looks digital, I will always review it lower than this one, even though there are parts of Rocky vs. Drago that look better than 1 and 2 and 3. They do. The HDR looks better. There is more detail. You can tell the cameras are better in with this movie, but I'm reviewing it from the point of view of transfer quality first versus how something looks. You can have the brightest colors and the best HDR in the world, but if the transfer quality is poor, or I see any digital fluctuations or anything like that, I will be reviewing it low. I don't care how good the HDR is. It does not matter to me. If I see any issues with any disc, it will not be getting a 5 out of 5 or close to it. And in this respect, from just the transfer quality itself, and well, transfer quality is the wrong word. This is the restoration team that did this. They did this. They tightened grain up. I've seen it. You can see it. You can see grain moving absolutely perfectly on an OLED with the first three movies. It does not happen on this movie, but it has a lot of good things too still. So it didn't hold it back that much. But the first thing I said to my brother, we was watching it together, I said, the grain's not resolving well. It looks digital. It looks... Something's been done to the grain. I don't like that. So let's check out some images real quick. That's basically what I said in my reviews. There was all my other review images. So I've got some screenshots. I think I have, yeah, a bit too many. I have 42 of them, so I will go through these quickly. I don't want to like bore anybody with this, but I want to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here with the actual transfer itself. Some pictures I took specifically for situations, others I took because they either looked good or I can find something in the image to talk about. So let's go full screen. So this is Rocky 1, and just to give me an idea, let me come out of this, is for the first Rocky I just put like up to 10 pictures or something like that, but then in parentheses I would put that it was Rocky 1 2, so I know that I would know that where I am, but I think I know by the images of what movies they are. So first things first, grain structure. This is the grain structure for the first three movies. Always, it is consistent. It is, in my opinion, it resolves absolutely perfect. Now, grain haters might think this is just a bunch of noise over the screen. It is not. It is grain resolving absolutely perfectly, and this is the type of grain I actually like. It does not. So where my mouse is here, right? In very poor transfers and low bitrate transfers, won't say from who, but this grain, I think a lot of people would know who I'm referring to here. This grain here would turn into blocks. So now we have blocks of grain, right? This is not good. This is not good whatsoever. You want the finest pin sharp grain that you can get. This transfer offers that. So I really commend the transfer team. Whoever did the transfer, it was either MGM or it was Warner. Warner's released it. Now, did Warner Brothers take care of the actual transfer itself? If they did, they've done a wonderful job. Absolutely wonderful job of this movie. So I went frame by frame by frame with some software that I'm using, and yeah, I'm telling you, every single frame is resolving this grain all the time. It never breaks up or blocks up into digital artifacts or anything like that. It's perfect. This is what I looked for when I am watching a movie, how well this resolves all of the time. My eyes just gravitate to things that I look for, and I know that I look for in a review. First thing is this, because this can break up into noise and artifacts. I've been seeing this for the last 20 years. I know that this is what it does. This on a streaming service would not resolve like this. I don't think Rocky 1, 2, and 3 would resolve grain for the next 20 years on a streaming service as good as this. You might take multiple codecs. I think right now the best one is AV1, but most streaming services are using X265, which is essentially the same as 4K Blu-ray currently. They're used in very good settings and things like that, and there's a lot they can get away with because they're not restricted like 4K Blu-ray is in certain respects. However, no way. There's no streaming service that could ever do this. Now, if you were like, I don't really care, well, hey, you know, that's your thing. I look for grain and movies that can resolve perfectly on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. In my opinion, this does that, and I think it does it great. So yeah. Color-wise, let's just talk about the color of the first three movies. First three movies, look at this color. This color is desaturated. It is, I said in my review, it's had the life pulled out of it, and you can say that. Another word is natural. It has a more natural lighting scheme rather than something that is obviously like a demo disc. Demo discs have very strong color, bold colors, beautiful colors, you could say. I don't necessarily. It's nice seeing colorful images. I'm like everybody else. It looks good. You know. To show off displays, yeah, that's where you want to go. You want to go for those types of things. But I respect old film and the way movies are color graded. I like this. I don't have any issues with this. We've got no black crush going on here. We've got nice detail. We've got grain structure. One thing as well is with the grain structure on this movie is the lighter an image is, it's actually harder to see the grain structure. And you tend to see more grain in dimly lit areas like this, say this corner here. Not quite sure why that is. It just might be an effect of the way light, how much more light you have in an image, and there's only just a certain amount you can see. And there's a certain amount of light when you bring the light down that now you can start to see more emphasis on noise or grain. But yeah, this is the color, the way this movie does look. Like I said, it does have that natural fall type colors, winter, those types of colors. And the reason I took this shot is because if you know the movie well, and now you have watched it on 4K, this was one of the shots that to me looked as though it was upscaled. I know it wouldn't have been upscaled because it was, it was shot on film, but it was a poor quality shot. Ringing was more emphasized around characters and things like this. It was quite heavy. We might not be able to see this because, I'm on a laptop now. Things are a little bit more difficult to see, plus the image is not moving. There are just certain things you cannot see unless an image is moving. And you get used to one sharpness of image and then move on to a next. And it's just very, it's just difficult to see. Anyway, this shot here looked to me low res. Didn't particularly look good whatsoever. I know sometimes they have to use different cameras and things like that, and maybe even B-roll or something. I'm not really too sure. This doesn't happen so much today because most cameras today are spec'd to they want their movies to look a specific way most of the time. Back in the day, sometimes, there's imperfections in one take and another, and look, this is just the way things are. Didn't love this shot. There's a few more like this, but I can forgive it for the most part. I'm not a monster. This is, a pre-80s movie even, so... But as soon as you get from that shot to say this shot, again, it might be difficult to see in screenshots, and even for me, it's difficult to see in a screenshot. But on a moving image on your display, you can see this. Once you get into this shot, the detail becomes excellent again. It becomes that real. You just know it's a 4K DI. You know it is to have this level of sharpness. Again. Cloudy skies, the life's been pulled out of it, and things like that. But yeah, just wanted to give you some ideas of this. Now again, grain structure. This would be a low APL shot, low average picture level, and it's revealing a lot more noise and grain. And the similarities between noise and grain are very apparent in this movie. But even if it was film grain, and even if it was noise, to me it did not matter because it resolved perfectly all of the time. This isn't breaking into any blocks here. There's no blocks here. This is why I respect this transfer so much. Even in a dimly lit scene, though, the characters are lit well, and that is one thing about this movie, or set of movies, and the benefit, in my opinion, of being on film. Everything is lit well. If you've watched a few of my other previous reviews, especially some of the Disney ones, they're color graded awfully. I'm sorry, they're bad. They're just color graded so bad. This, you actually have to light there on set, and I just think things are lit very well in this movie. So yeah, I'll just keep moving on. Again, we've got heavy grain here. Some people are not going to like this. I don't particularly care. I'm just saying this is what I look for. And is this breaking into noise and artifacts? No, it is not. You know, if you can do this, for me, you've reached the top of the peak for transfer quality. Sure, the source quality is noisy, and does it look as good as today's movies? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But we're never going to expect that. You should never expect that from an old movie. But I think it looks great. I think it retains the look of how these movies would have looked first time in a movie theater or a cinema. May even look better now. Because there's some restoration and things done to them and stuff, but they didn't tighten this up or remove it. You know, I mean, I may as well say who it is. Paramount would not have done this. Paramount would have tried to clean this up, and I know the difference between grain that resolves well and blocks of grain that just don't, and it looks smudgy and blurry. No. This movie did not do that. So I respect whoever transferred this. This is excellent. The team that did this has a respect for film. And they have a respect for the authenticity of this movie. Being a dark, gritty street movie. And I just respect it. Great shot. That's why I took it. Just gorgeous. Really is. Nice resolution. Hair on the soft side, but it still captures everything. I don't think you can get this on Blu-ray. You know, to be honest, none of this you can get on Blu-ray. You can't resolve grain with 40 megabits per second. You just can't. It can still look good, but not like 4K Blu-ray, not like this. Again, good color. Good lighting, we'll say. And yeah, that is one that's, I don't know, it's just something I love about film. They know how to light scenes. Not like today. You know, we're not, I just don't know. Modern movies just do not know how to light properly. There are a few, you know, that do, so I'm not pulling everybody down. But modern movies, please, just learn how to light scenes to make them look good. Again, even this scene, you know, there's lots of light. There's lots of light. We're seeing different skin tones here. Different skin tones, you know. You can see all of Apollo's different skin tones here. Movies from Disney, you just can't do that. You just cannot do it. Again, lots of noise. There's no breakup or anything like that. Again, this is how film is supposed to look, in my opinion. Old film. Sure, old film. Imperfect old film. You can even see the noise in the black here. Now, I don't know what YouTube does with compression. You might actually see this on YouTube, and it might even show that some of this doesn't resolve well. So do bear that in mind. You know, YouTube is they're trying to compress. YouTube tries to compress to what, 6 megabits per second? I don't really know, but it's not enough to resolve anything really that I'm even talking about. With YouTube as well, because this is a static image, the longer a static image is on a screen, the more reliable the information becomes. Once you switch like this, like with encoding, it's very difficult to have that first shot as good as it can. It generally gets better and better over time because it's repeating the same frame and it knows what the reference is. Things like that. Good shot, good color. I love the HDR color grading for me works well. It doesn't crush blacks or anything like that, and it's nice and bright. And yeah, they didn't make it look ultra modern and brighten things up or anything. They're really just retaining that original color, and I really like that. So really good shot, excellent shot. Lots of noise here, no blocks, no artifacts, no nothing. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. Gorgeous stuff. Ah, I know this. It's Rocky 2. Okay. They try and get him to sign stuff, and yeah. Now, I did see an slight uptick in resolution when they went to Rocky 2. They were better than the original cameras. They definitely were. So, he wouldn't mind marrying me. Very much, yeah. Sweet scene. Good scene. I like this. There's a there's a tiger right here in this cage. I'm like, could that tiger jump up, like, if it really wanted to? I think it could. I mean, good lord. That looked dangerous to me. So, grain and snow, yeah, it still looked perfect to me. Lots of noise here in the corner, noise here in the corner, aka film grain, but no breakup whatsoever. Again, really well lit shots. Now you can say this is the street lamps. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the moon doing all of this light, but yeah, street lamps and things like that. Modern movies do not look like this. Modern movies, the color graders come in and say, we want a more filmic look, right? And we'll just bring down all the color and everything like that, and all this brightness, all this you could even say it might even be clipping. I don't really know, but it's so much. You could say stark lighting, right? Stark lighting. I just prefer it. I prefer a person and people that are well lit. Right, so this is actually pretty funny, because he just went for the job where he was sticking him in a cage or something, and he's reading something and he's all banged up and that. Yeah, and the guy said he couldn't read, so he starts reading now. And this was actually pretty funny. Yeah. So, I mean, look, to be honest, I will be going over most of the same things here. Grain can resolve perfectly, and yeah, that's really it. Resolution is good. The colors to me look good, of an old 70s movie, borderline then going into 80s as well. And now this is a really interesting scene. Let's actually talk about this. Though I have talked again a lot about grain structure before, this specific scene is that lighting, the lighting in this scene caused it to look, you could say, more noisy. But again, I know YouTube could probably be a thing here, but all of these pieces of grain, and I say pieces of grain, not blocks of grain, are resolving perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. When 4K Blu-ray first released, you would never have seen a transfer this good. It was impossible to have grain looking this good. Impossible. No way. Now, what I've been talking about before about stark lighting, this is it. There's a light where my camera is now, right up in the corner, lighting this character, right? Now, sure, it's probably a little too heavy and things like that, but back in the day, we want characters lit well. We just do, right? And I prefer this to what we have now. I'm not saying all modern movies and things like that are dark, drab, and things like that. They're not. I mean, you can just check out Ambulance, right? Ambulance is color graded in a specific way to look bright, colorful, and have a particular style of look to it. I like that. I like when somebody uses digital and they go after what is good on digital. This is real film, and this is what real film looks like. And it can also look gorgeous, even though it has that look of seediness, of overly grainy, old, rustic. It retains that, and that is what I love. That is what I look for in transfers, and this is really why I've gravitated to old movies. more than modern. And this is weird because when I was younger, I wanted everything modern, I wanted everything clean, and the newer stuff was always better. Not so much anymore for me. Yeah, nice shot. Some really good shots in this movie. That was the shot I used for the review. Really, really. Now, so at night when there's a lot of artificial light, man-made light, the colours almost embolden themselves. They are stronger. This shot is a really, really nice shot. There's good colour here. Again, maybe not as much colour as modern day movies, but it looks really good. Nice resolution as well. Good detail on faces and things like that. No crush, you know. There's zero crushing going on there. So, you know, really, really good. Wanted to get an idea of movement and things like that. Back in the day, if you've seen encoding through the entire days of dial-up internet to what we have now, sometimes around fast-moving objects there can be noising, there can be blocking, there can be I can't even remember what some of the mosquito noise. Yeah, there's a lot of artifacts, things that I've been through over the years to try and remember about some of the things that we've had to deal with. Fast-moving objects, there's nothing going on here. We have the same grain structure here as we do on Apollo's hair. You know, for me, it's excellent. It's just excellently done. It's just good stuff. I know this. Rocky 3, yeah. Now, you can tell this shot specifically is hazy. Now, I was trying to think why this was, and to be honest, it was probably because there's so many people in this auditorium or boxing ring that it actually affects the cameras and maybe puts like some haze even on the cameras, unless they specifically went for this type of shot. I don't like this. I never like shots. This is one thing I don't like about old cinematography and cameras and things like that, is any shots that are artificial, not artificially, but just soft in general. They do this with a lot of shots for women to make them look softer and more beautiful, you could say. I hate that. I hate that when they do that. I really do. It really annoys me when they do that, like, especially on women. They don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Women are beautiful enough. You don't need to blur them and make them look a particular way to dazzle a man's eyes. You don't need to do that. Anyway, let's move it. Yeah, I'm not a fan of shots like this, but, you know, let's look at grain structure again. It's good, you know. Things like that. There's no issues with this. This is actually a hard shot to encode because when you have blurring, you also have kind of bleeding of certain colors, fading colors. They're not as the colors and the objects on the screen aren't as absolute. They're not as sharp as they could be. So it's actually a difficult shot to encode. Things like this. Looks like film. Doesn't look digital. Really gorgeous shot. Excellent resolution on his face. Really good. If you've seen some of my previous reviews, I love shots like this. Backgrounds are blurred out and we just hyper focus on a character. Really good. Hair detail, facial detail, all really good. Another thing that I haven't actually talked about, and I don't really need to talk about this for a while, is there's no edge enhancement like we used to see back in the day. Heavy ringed out edge enhancement to try and give you the perceived level of detail being higher. You don't do that on 4K. You don't need to do that on 4K. I've seen some horror releases on 4K that have done that. You don't need to do that. Why? Because you let the resolution take care of it. The resolution is good enough. You don't need to artificially do anything anymore. You never needed to do it anyway, but you know. Good shot. Really good shot. Film lighting. Apollo Creed, right? A more difficult skin color, right? To light. It is, you know. His skin is more difficult to light than say mine, right? But you can still see skin tones. You can see skin tone differences around his face, everything like that. His hair and stuff, you know. Modern cameras just do not seem to do this. Whether it's digital, I don't honestly know. Whether it's too much color grading or whether they think they want their movies to look a particular way, I just don't know. Great shot, great lighting. Sure, we're in a a press conference type thing. There may be a lot of lights going around anyway. Modern movies just don't seem to do this very well. Probably I'm pulling modern movies down a little bit too hard here, but I don't know. I just keep seeing too much of it where they don't know how to light a character's face properly. Unless you're Christopher Nolan, you know. Christopher Nolan knows how to light things, but again, he's on film, so. The dirtiest of the dirtiest place you could ever be, and well, we have strong lighting, but it gets noisy down here. You know, there's no problem for the encoding here. All good. There is a haze here. Now this is one reason, I guess, why you do have camera haze. You've got 50 guys working out, and it's an absolute sweatbox, right? And that's going to do something to the cameras too, and the lenses. If that is, I would assume that is what's going on, right? You know, that's just how it is. But still good. Gorgeous close-ups. And another thing we haven't talked about, and typically with film there's no need, is bit depth. So the color of this blue is different to the color of this blue. Now in a digital world, you might see banding and not artifacting, but you might see banding or some bit depth errors here. You don't see any. Not on film. Analog film, you do not see bit depth errors anywhere in skies like this. It's perfect. Gorgeous detail on Rocky's face. Really, really good. Excellent. I just wanted to get this because it was a great shot of Apollo. Really good. Loved it. Some of these shots here, they were incredible. Great color too. Excellent. Good scene. Really, really good scene. Excellent. Aspect ratio change. Yeah, you got it. You got it. I didn't mind the aspect ratio change. I thought it was good. It looked more filmic, you could say. Now, so first things first, grain structure. Camera could be here, so let's talk here. Grain structure, it's not the same as the first three. You can see it here. It's not. It looks tightened. It looks more digital. And overall, look at this shot. Look at this shot compared to everything else I've been talking about. It looks smooth. It looks clean. I don't love that. It may have been a look for the movie itself. Sometimes there is grain here and stuff, you know, it still has film grain, I'm not saying it doesn't. But it's put to the backside a little in this movie. It really is. And things are tightened up. It does not resolve as well. Now, I don't think this is a flaw of the encoding. I actually think, well, I've inspected the files. The settings are the same. So it's nothing to do with the encoding. It's the restoration. The restoration, I think they've tightened the grain up too much. And with these screenshots, by the way, I kind of went backwards. Because I just wanted to check the end of the movie, and then I kind of worked myself backwards on these. At the time, it felt like the right thing to do. Because I didn't know whether I wanted to reveal a scene that people hadn't seen yet. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm not ruining the story or your enjoyment if you haven't seen the movie. Or this rendition of the movie, you know, this version of the movie. So I was like, okay, let me just include one of the shots that was definitely different. Again, there's a lot of light in there, but look at this. Look at the grain structure compared to the previous movies. It's not as heavy. This could be the cameras. When you upgrade to different cameras and things like that, the grain structure may be completely different. But if it isn't, and they did it for a reason of consistency through the movie itself, of the new edited scenes that had never been seen before, and they color graded them to look a particular way, and they said, well, why don't we apply this look to the movie itself as well? I don't really I don't know. I guess the only way to truly know would be to look at an older version and just see if the grain structure is about the same. Now, in older versions, if you're looking at, say, Blu-ray, there's only so much you can see in Blu-ray. It doesn't resolve grain itself as well in the first place, so it would be a struggle. But now this is one of the new scenes that we'd never seen before, and okay. And one thing I noticed from these scenes specifically is that the color grading itself looked modern. I would say it looks gorgeous. I'm not denying it looks gorgeous, but I always in film I try to look for consistency throughout an entire film. Its color range, the way grain resolves. I'm always thinking about these things as I watch a movie. Think how bright a movie is, how bright this scene is compared to a scene a little while ago. Just things like that. And I felt that the new scenes that would have required brand new color grading, I felt they were slightly more colorful. Again, they look great, but I think they were slightly overdone compared to the original Rocky IV that we had. Going from, say, a new scene to a previously released scene, or Rocky, let's just call it Rocky IV, I felt there was a difference there. I don't think they looked equal. So that would really be, with this movie, that would be my only complaint. Number one is, let's just say my video ever got in the hands of, say, a Sylvester Stallone or someone high up in MGM or Warner Brothers. My only complaint with when you do restorations, number one, is grain structure for me is paramount. I don't look at noise across a screen and an image to be an imperfection. This is how things were back then. You want to retain all of this beauty in and how it looked back in the day. There is no need to tighten grain, and I think this movie did that. If you want to call it DNR, it doesn't. It does look digital, but to say that it was DNR, I don't know. I wouldn't maybe go that far, but maybe a style of digital noise reduction was used. The reason is because grain resolves differently at different speed in this movie than the first three. So when you're restoring movies, I don't like to see that. Don't restore things for grain and those type of imperfections. If there's dirt on a screen, sure, we're going to clean that up. Don't clean and restructure grain. Never do that. The original movie is how it was recorded and how it is supposed to be. I want that as is. I want that left as is. Color grading. When you're restoring and color grading new scenes that have never been seen before, try and have an idea of what the movie looks like. Its color timing, its color palette. This looked a little bit too colorful for me. I would have pulled it down just a little bit more for me. I really would have. I think things are too colorful. in these scenes. Again, I'm not denying that they look good. That's my two pet peeves really for this movie. Not the transfer, but the restoration. I wouldn't have done that. I think a closer eye needs to be looked at between continuity of scene by scene, and does this one just stick out like a sore thumb because it looks absolutely gorgeous, which it does, compared to the rest of the movie. So again, not denying it looks gorgeous, really does, but there's no grain structure here whatsoever. Excellent resolution and things like that, but we definitely have pulled. One thing as well is Rocky IV specifically was much brighter, a much brighter movie. If anything, they probably went a little over the top with the brightness. I'm not sure what they did to it, but it was probably a little too bright, which is odd for me to say because I always say please brighten up your movies, but might have went a little over the top here with the brightness. This is why I didn't review this movie from its looks as good as the first three. The first three I prefer the look. In a vacuum, I do like some of these shots. I like the color, I like everything, but just compared to the other three, I prefer that. Undeniable, this shot. Look at this. That is great. It's great color grading. It's great color. He looks good too. The trees look good. But from a consistency point of view with the way the movie actually looks, the color needed to be pulled back slightly. Just ever so slightly. To retain a consistent look between the entire movie. So, good shot. But again, Rocky 1 and 3, they had grain structure here. We really don't have that so much here. There is grain. There is grain in the movie, but it's definitely been digitally altered, and that's the first place my eyes go to. So, still a good transfer though. Still a good transfer. It looks good. It is well done. But restoration teams really can make or break the way a movie looks, I think, sometimes. So yeah. So overall, the Rocky collection for the pictures, for the picture itself, I think it's excellent. This is what I look for. I look for you could say dirty film, right? I don't have any issues with that. I'm not a grain hater. I love to see this. I think it looked really good. I think it was a good transfer. It was all well done. Rocky IV, the restoration, probably it went a little bit too far, and maybe the color grading as well went a little bit too much in some of the scenes. Now the audio. So this is why I split the movie up. I think the best way to think about the audio is because Rocky II specifically had its tonal balance changed, you could say. And I think if you watch Rocky 1, 2, 3, and you hadn't watched Rocky, like I hadn't watched Rocky for years. I had not watched it for years. I didn't pick up the Blu-ray when the Blu-ray came out, when it was put in the collection. I didn't do that. I was like, I'm going to wait for the 4K. There was so much to watch at the time anyway. And I was like, I'm not picking this up. So, watching Rocky 1, 2, and 3 in a vacuum of just watching them on 4K, isolated and not really knowing and hearing about the other movies and haven't heard it for a while, the differences between these three movies, I thought the sound was okay. I thought it was there was nothing special about it. It was just okay. Obviously, the big standout of these movies is its music. The music sounds great. Now, if anything, on Rocky II, because that is the one that's had, I would call this EQ applied. If anything, they went too far. Meaning that to equate this into EQ terms, Rocky 2, the equivalence might be on a Denon receiver, because I use a Denon, is you increase the bass by +6 and you reduce the treble by -6. That was kind of the idea for the sound that I got on Rocky 2, is it reduced those harsh highs. In some respects this is better, and it gave it a warmer bass. The entire sound to me sounds warmer. Did they go too far? They maybe did. So I wanted to watch all of these movies first before looking at anything else. I had a copy of Rocky 2 on Blu-ray on hand. I think it came with the steelbook of Rocky 2. So I thought, okay. I put one into my Revon X200, which is a 4K Blu-ray player. I put the Blu-ray in there, and then I put Rocky 2 into my Panasonic UB9000. Luckily, the chapters are exactly the same. They're in the same position. So I just went to the last chapter, and I went to the last chapter on the 4K, and I switched between them too, the both of them. It was right at the end, so you're hearing the end music, right? And the music, the treble sounds slightly better on Rocky 2. It's more, it sounds like older music, like 70s, 80s music. It's got that treble about it that does probably need to be brought down a little, but not too much. Also the bass as well, and you can tell the bass. There's more bass, there's more warmth. Again, this is really now coming down to taste more than anything. Which you like better. I don't love the sound of Rocky 2, the way it sounds. It sounds brittle and harsh, but the new one sounds potentially soft and over-smoothed. But does it bring more consistency between these three? Maybe it does. So I think some people are either gonna like it, like say me, right? I watched the movies. I didn't let the sound didn't influence my decision to buy or not buy this movie. I watched it and I was like, okay, yeah. To me, it sounded fine. You know, within a 4 out of 5 movie that's made in the 70s, you know, it sounded okay. Sure, they'd changed and EQ'd a few things, but I didn't find any reason to not get this. Now, Rocky 4, on the other hand, let's just move on from this. I think I've talked about enough of this, about the EQ and things like that. And yeah, I think some people won't think about it, and others, it will be enough for them to say, I don't like that. I like the sound of the other one. I can see both sides. I can see both sides. Now, Rocky 4, on the other hand, the sound quality jump is obvious compared to these three. Obvious. Absolutely obvious. The jump is significant. Dialogue quality. There's more resolution in their voice. You can just hear much more. The quality of the music has been amped up. It's got more dynamics and things like this. You know, these first three are just limited in the sound of what they could do and what they had. This one was a big jump forward. Definitely. And I think it sounded great. You could hear there was slight use of surround sound. The music, it sounded full. You know, I really liked the sound, and this is why I reviewed that at 4.5, whereas these three are 4 out of 5. Now, let's say this Rocky 2, right? They come out with a replacement disc, right, for Rocky 2, and they're like, look, we went too far. We still EQ'd it, but we dialed things back a bit, or they just said, look, we're given the original mix. I don't know what they're going to do. But my review score would not change for Rocky 2. It still sounds like Rocky 2. It just sounds tonally different. This is why, to me, it wasn't such a big deal. I watched Rocky, I watched Rocky 2, 3, and I enjoyed them all. It didn't affect it really does not affect my score in that way. A tonal difference would not do that. So, okay, I think that's enough. Yeah, I really enjoyed the collection, especially the picture quality. I think they got it right. Slightly too far on this one, and yeah, I did not let the audio thing really get in the way of my enjoyment of these movies. I really enjoyed it. I honestly loved watching them again. And watching these movies, you really do realize that, especially the first 1, 2, I mean maybe even 3, but it's definitely the first 1 and 2. The movies, they're not boxing movies. And back in the day when I was a kid, I was like, come on, let's go. I want to watch it because it's fighting, guys fighting, yeah. And you watch it now when I'm a lot older, and in some ways they're love movies. They really are. And it feels good to watch today and watch it in a different way to how you used to as a kid. Now, obviously, when I was a kid, Rocky 4 was my favorite. I loved Rocky 4, and the reason is because it just focuses on boxing, training, guy stuff, you could say. But it's just cool. It's a cool movie. But I enjoyed this too today. So it's like I can enjoy both today, where there's a lot of little subtleties when I was younger I just didn't pick up on when I was younger. So appreciating this movie now that I'm older, it just feels good. So yeah. Yeah. So that's what I think about the Rocky collection. I enjoyed it. I liked it, and let me know what you think. What did you think to the sound on Rocky 2? Did they go over the top? Did it ruin your experience of this release? Do you think they should release a new version? And was it enough to fix the sound and destroy everything about this collection? For me, it wasn't. But yeah, I'd like to know what you think. That is what I think. And yeah, I just wanted to make a video about this and just talk about this. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate all of the comments on the videos and things like that. I appreciate all the support and interest for our website as well. Me and my brother run this website along with my dad. This is a family-run website, and we always get questioned about like prices and stuff like that. We unfortunately we can't even compete with companies like Amazon, things like that. But we try and make up with it with good customer service and things like that, and being a friend, having somebody to talk to about films on the other end, as well as being our customers. It's a nice position to be in, I think. And we have free shipping, and that's what the prices are basically made for. Free shipping to ship to Europe and the rest of the world. A lot of Americans also want to buy as well, and I contact people, and they can contact us too and say, hey, can you do anything about your prices? We can do it. We can do anything with our prices. We can do anything we want with our prices. So if you're from the US and you do want to purchase, don't hesitate. Contact me or my brother. Email us personally. Say, hey, I'd like to buy, but your prices are too high for me. Is there any deals you can do? Things like that. Just really wanted to get that out there for people that don't understand our pricing structure, and You know, it is difficult running a business. And competing with people that, you know, have $20 cheaper, $15 cheaper on some movies because they bought 6,000 at a time, or they're on a special deal. It's just difficult. It's a very difficult business to be in, but I love it. And this is why I do it, because I love movies, and I have ever since I was a kid. And back in the old days of Laserdisc, we used to buy Laserdisc and get them imported. Some guy used to import them for us. And I was like, well, we moved to America and we said, well, why don't we do the same thing, but inverted? Why don't we sell all of our US stuff and sell it to, say, England or France and places like that? And we was like, yeah. So we started up an eBay business and things like that. And now we're here. Now we have a website, we do this. But our prices are not locked in, by the way, guys. You know, contact me, contact my brother, contact the business. We're better off doing deals, like if you buy 3, then we can make things cheaper and things like that, and it helps with shipping and pricing and things like that. But yeah, just talk to us. You know, we're always here. I'm always on Twitter or somewhere trying to, you know, talk to people and things like that. But this is what I love. I love doing this, and yeah. So Rocky Knockout Collection, I enjoyed it. I do recommend it, and I do recommend it for the transfer and the picture quality. I think I've said enough. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.